How's it going? It's Bradley with All Access Sports, bringing you, I guess, episode 6 of our sleepers, studs, and stacks, where we get into players under $5,500 that you can get into your lineup and get some real steals at. Get those guys so you can go afford those studs, those high-priced guys, the top-tier value. And then, obviously, we're going to be talking about some of the quarterbacks and wide receivers that we love to pair with this week. We've been off to a decent start, but we can always do a little bit better, so let's get into it. If you haven't already, give a thumbs up to the video. Don't forget, it automatically gives you a 10% better chance to cash this week on the NFL slate. There is literally zero scientific proof on that, but I would appreciate it. So obviously on the week 6 slate, there is 11 games total to be choosing from, which is pretty good. We do have some of those larger offenses that we can be choosing from. The Miamis of the world, the Detroits that are always a fun game. Philadelphia is involved in this one. Kansas City obviously played on Thursday, but there's a lot of good offenses that we could be picking on depending on the weather. Don't forget, this isn't a final lock. We're not making this lineup and saying, hey, this is what I'm putting in on Sunday. Everything can change. This is just kind of getting an idea of what's out there and what we can possibly build with it. Starting off with quarterbacks, and you know that I do not like to pay down for my quarterback. I'm usually looking in the top 5 quarterbacks and stacking them, but every once in a while, there will be something that catches my eye. Not necessarily saying it this week. Maybe Sam Howell against Atlanta. Atlanta's been pretty good creating turnovers so far. Baker Mayfield against Detroit is an interesting one. They haven't been great against the pass. They have been good. They've been creating turnovers. Aiden Hutchinson looks really good, but I suspect they're going to be playing from behind, probably throwing the ball a little bit more than usual. Derek Carr against Houston, maybe. Joshua Dobbs against the Rams. Bryce Young in a huge play from behind game against Miami. They're like 15.5 point underdogs in that one. Desmond Ridder against Washington would probably be the top one that I would consider, but I don't love it by any means because you kind of look, you're probably going to be getting one of these games and not so much the 29 game. Would I consider Desmond Ridder? Absolutely. Do I love it? No. However, look at what he did against Houston. Compare some of these numbers to what Derek Carr is capable of doing against that same Houston defense. His numbers have not been great this season, but hey, this is the perfect chance for you to kind of kickstart things with your wide receiving group. Throw a couple of screen passes to Alvin Kamara. Get it going. Running backs. Now, I usually like to cram in 3 running backs. I'm playing a lot of double ups, 50-50s. I like to get high floor guys at the running back position and take some shots with my wide receivers. Usually. You look at some of the names that are available, there's a couple of injuries right here at the $5,500 threshold that are typically starters. Khalil Herbert going to be out, so you look at Roschon Johnson, Darrington Evans, Donta Foreman. They have a couple of options. Look at the injury report Sunday, see how they're playing out. I know that some of them are also dealing with injuries and being out, and then Darrington Evans was just signed. Miles Sanders, he is more than likely going to be out. They already have them listed as out on that screen. Questionable here. We don't know. Chuba Hubbard is going to fill in admirably. Again, it's against a Miami Dolphins defense who is decent against the run. Teams haven't had to run or haven't been able to run the ball very much against them because they're just having to pass because they're behind by so much. Regardless, Chuba Hubbard is a super value, a guy that catches the ball out of the backfield. Let's show you. $4,300, getting about 35% of the snaps so far this season. He's getting consistently some targets out of the backfield as well as some handoffs. Averaging 4.5 yards per carry is pretty good against a less than stellar Carolina Panthers offensive line. Again, super value. I don't expect him to bring you 25 to 30 points, but if you're getting 12 to 16 points out of him, you're obviously going to be happy with that turnout. I'm dipping back into the Tyler Allgeier well. We're going to be going after him this week at $4,600. Again, even with a healthy Bijan Robinson, he's getting a healthy dose of carries. Going up against the Washington Commanders defense that ranks 24th in the league in rush yards per game, they're not very good, giving up the 31st worst amount of points in the league. Clearly obvious that Bijan Robinson is the number 1 weapon in this offense in terms of the backfield, but Tyler Allgeier is going to continue to get a couple of handoffs. So we're getting double-digit handoffs here. I feel good that he's going to be getting you 8 to 12 points. Ends up in the end zone against, again, one of the league's worst rushing defenses. You got to kind of like that. Khalil Herbert, doubtful because of that ankle injury that he suffered last game. Roschon Johnson, questionable, hasn't participated in practices yet as of early Friday morning. Travis Homer, also dealing with a little bit of an injury. He didn't participate in practice. So that leaves you with, I guess, the backup fullback, Blasingame, as well as Donta Foreman, who's been a healthy inactive the past 4 games, could finally get some run this week. Again, at $4,400, I'm probably going to be taking Chuba Hubbard at the same price point, essentially, over Donta Foreman, but it's certainly worth a look for a team that's going to be going up against one of the worst teams in the league defensively. Wide receivers under $5,500, and this is where you can make up a lot of ground. It feels like every single week there is someone that pops up that is just a ton of value at the wide receiver position, someone that's getting you high volume, 7, 8, 9 targets consistently that you can go down here and grab. That allows you to pay up for the wide receivers, pay up for your tight end when you want to go get one of those high-end guys, and most importantly, pay up for your quarterback because, again, I love a high-priced quarterback. It's like a moth to a flame. Just outside of our realm, Jacoby Myers going up against the New England defense, who's been pretty good. Jordan Addison without Justin Jefferson, I would probably lean a little bit more KJ Osborne, but Jordan Addison probably going to have an influx of opportunities. Tyler Lockett just above it at 5,700 against Cincinnati Bengals defense that's been kind of torched by wide receivers throughout the season. Nico Collins, the lead weapon for the Houston Texans, but then we're in our range of $5,500, right? Started off with Terry McLaurin against Atlanta. Don't love it. I don't think he's gotten involved enough this season. He does have that one double-digit game, but it hasn't been spectacular. I like it. Don't love it. Someone I do love is Christian Kirk at $5,400. This is what we like to see. We love to see double-digit numbers from a guy that only cost us $5,400. He hasn't really gone up in value, and now you're getting an Indianapolis Colts defense that ranks 28th in the league in passing yards allowed per game. Tyler Boyd, we thought we would see a huge uptick in his numbers last week without T. Higgins being in the lineup. If T. Higgins misses again at $4,600, again, you're consistently getting 7, 7, 9, 8. Good numbers, has yet to find the end zone. Would love for that to happen against Seattle. It feels like Seattle, Detroit, Kansas City, right? Some of those teams are just having screwy games where they just kind of get out of hand. There's a lot of points that are going to be going around. This seems like it could be one of those games, and I would rather be in than be left outside. Especially after the game Jamar Chase had last week, Seattle's going to have to do something to stop him. Devon Witherspoon is going to try to lock him up, hopefully opening up things for Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins if he does play. I said it before and I'll say it again, KJ Osborne. I didn't think his targets would really be super impacted from where he was last year because of the addition of Jordan Addison. We saw Jordan Addison get skunked a few weeks ago. He's gotten at least 8 catches in every single game, including last game where he went 5 catches on 9 targets. I like him in this spot. I know he hasn't put up a ton of yardage yet in the season, but that's because he hasn't had a huge amount of volume for catches. It's hard to get 50 yards when you're only getting 1 catch, 3 catches, but with the absence of Justin Jefferson, if Kirk Cousins is a go, it's worth a shot, right? $4,400, that's dirt cheap. DJ Chark at $4,000. Again, last week we said they were going to be playing from behind. He only had 3 receptions, 42 yards. He had an excellent touchdown grab. So he was a little bit dependent on that, but he's had some decent targets at $4,000. I like him in this one going up against Miami Dolphins. They rank 20th in the league in passing. We know they're going to be scoring points. The Panthers will have to pass the ball in order to keep up. DJ Chark looks like a very valuable option here. And finally, in a game that we mentioned earlier with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Joshua Downs on the flip side of that ball. He has what feels like a good rapport with both quarterbacks, whether it's Gardner Minshew or Anthony Richardson. 6 targets, 6 catches last week, almost got us a 100-yard bonus. 15.5, 13.5. He has a 5-point game stuffed in the middle of it, but at $4,000, you're getting right here 4 times your value for a guy. And that's our goal. Again, you're getting $50,000 to use every single week for your DraftKings lineup. If you're getting 4 times value, that's 200 points you're cashing every single week. Even if we're getting 3x, that puts you around 150. We like that. Now at the tight end position, it's pretty easy to pay down under $5,500 for a tight end when there's only 2 guys that qualify this week over $5,500. And you've heard me say it before, if it's not Kelsey, I don't pay up. Evan Ingram at $4,500. We've talked about some of these guys at the wide receiver position that were $4,500, right? He was like, hey, he's had 3 targets, 7 targets, 6 targets. Look at the epitome of consistency here. 8, 8, 8, 8 for him over the last 4 weeks. He's at $4,500. Now, that's probably more than I'll typically spend, but in a game where you're going up against one of the worst pass defenses in the league, I think Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley are all in play for me this week. I know he hasn't found the end zone, but if he did find the end zone in any of these games, he's putting up a 20-point game for you at $4,500. It's crazy to think that Zach Ertz had his second or third worst game. So his middle-of-the-road game last week was the first time that he's actually scored a touchdown on the season. He only had 2 receptions, which again is a season low, but he's still getting decent targets. Has Kyle Pitts finally turned the corner at $3,500? 11 targets last week against the Houston Texans. Can that continue against the Washington Commanders? As someone who hates the Atlanta Falcons, yeah, I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. As someone who hates the Atlanta Falcons, I think this pricing's out of whack. I like Kyle Pitts at $3,500. Come to daddy. Get in my lineup. Now it's time for those high-priced guys, and we kind of need to step on the gas a little bit, man. I don't like to make these videos too long for you. Starting off at the top, Jalen Hurts going up against the Jets defense. That's pretty good. Tua against Carolina Panthers. I think that's a smash play. They've struggled. They've been competitive in the first half, and then they fall off because the defense is on the field so long and their offense can't stay healthy. Tua should have a good game. My only fear, they get ahead too early. Vegas 15, 14, 13-point favorites, whatever it is now. Justin Fields going up against the Minnesota Vikings, arguably one of the worst defenses in the league, and he's gotten hot over the last 2 weeks with 32 points and 32 points. You can certainly just run him by himself. You don't have to pair him with a wide receiver, but if you do, DJ Moore is available. I was looking at my jersey over there in the corner. DJ Moore, one of the top 5 wide receivers in the league. Shout out to my boy DJ. You can certainly pair him with him. Same game, Kirk Cousins without Justin Jefferson. I'm going to be fading that one. Anthony Richardson on IR, so Gardner Minshew could be in your back pocket. I know we didn't mention him earlier. I like him. I don't love him. It'll be interesting to see how they play it with Jonathan Taylor being back. Are they just going to stuff the run, or is Gardner Minshew going to go out there and get it done? Finally, Trevor Lawrence against the Indianapolis Colts. 16 points per game. He's finally back on the United States soil to the motherland. I think he can repeat what he did week 1 and improve. I'm looking for a 20 to 25 point game out of Trevor Lawrence. If I get that, I'm happy. I think Fields has a huge ceiling. High floor, I'm probably going to be going with Trevor Lawrence again and Calvin Ridley stack. Christian McCaffrey at home, almost an insta-lock for us, right? Except it's against the Cleveland Browns, who's been a very good defense. Can they bottle him up? Can they contain him? Sure. If you mean by getting him to a 14-point game, they probably can. Does he have the chance to do a 51-point game? More than likely. But $9,500 is a massive pill to swallow. I'm going to be fading him this week. David Montgomery against Tampa Bay Bucks. I like this one. I don't love it because Tampa Bay does rank in the top 10 in the league in rushing. I'm not saying David Montgomery can't come out here and score another 2 or 3 touchdowns. But I'm going to be fading it. I'm going to trust the Tampa Bay Bucks defense to at least stymie the run. Do we hop back on the Bijan Robinson train and take him a second week against the Washington Commanders? He was kind of a letdown for us last week. Luckily, a touchdown saved us late, but he's probably going to bounce back and get one of these 20-point games at $7,200, his lowest price point of the season. I certainly think you could take a chance on him being one of the top or bottom 6 rushing defenses in the league. Wide receivers, and there's a lot to like at the top of the board. Tyreek Hill. That's a smash. I don't know who the Panthers have that are going to be competing with Tyreek Hill in terms of covering him on the field. Cooper Kupp against the Arizona Cardinals in his first game back against Philadelphia, who's not a horrible defense. 12 targets, 8 receptions over the 100-yard mark. Didn't get a touchdown. Would have been an immense day for him. At $9,000, yes, it is expensive, but you kind of know exactly what you're going to get against an Arizona Cardinals defense that's ranking 26th in yards allowed per game. Is Jamar Chase back? I think so. 3 straight weeks, averaging about 30 points per game. Yeah, it is obviously heavily kiltered because of that 3-touchdown game against the Arizona Cardinals, who Cooper Kupp is going up against. Now against the Seattle Seahawks, who are also not great against the pass. Yes, Devon Witherspoon has been very good. He's been a hard hitter. The defensive backs are playing okay, but they're not really generating any pressure against the quarterback. When Joe Burrow has time to sit back there and let Jamar Chase get down the field, that's when big things happen. Jamar Chase this week is an absolute smash. There's 3 fantastic wide receiver plays at the top. If I could get all 3 in my lineup, I would. It would be even harder if Justin Jefferson was in there against the Chicago Bears because I don't know who I'd want to pick. Just because of affordability, it might have to be the 2 cheapest ones of the 3. I think a lot of people will be on Tyreek. I'm probably going to be on these 2 a little bit more. Calvin Ridley, we talked about going up against the Indianapolis Colts. What did he do week 1? Oh, just a casual 27-point game. 1 touchdown, one of his 2 touchdowns on the season. Most targeted game, most reception game of the season. Does he return to that form at $6,700? Kind of middle of the road pricing for what he's been this year? I think it's absolutely worth a shot. DJ Moore obviously has a huge ceiling as well as probably a low floor when things aren't going his way. But I guess over the last 3 weeks, he's been one of the hottest, maybe even 4 weeks, he's been one of the hottest wide receivers in the league. I think he's super talented. As a Carolina Panthers fan, I saw him play. Get the ball in his hands and he's going to make things happen. He's kind of got that agility, like punt returner skill set where if he just has the ball, he's going to make a couple guys miss. He has fantastic speed. I think he's able to get away from some of these slower Minnesota defenders. Again, another one of the worst pass defenses in the league without Justin Jefferson, which means they could have some drives stall out. Getting the ball back into Justin Fields' hands, as long as he's not committing turnovers and sustaining drives, DJ Moore should be in a pretty good spot, being down so many running backs and weapons. Who else are they going to get the ball to? There's like 4 guys left. Just based on people that we've talked about today, if you build a lineup, Trevor Lawrence teamed him up with Calvin Ridley. Obviously, you should probably run him back with like a Michael Pittman, a Kyron Granson, maybe even Zach Moss, Jonathan Taylor. Listen, build it how you want to build it, okay? Raheem Mostert against terrible Carolina Panthers. Chuba Hubbard, if Miles Sanders is out, should get the bulk of the carries there for that team. Again, at $4,300, I'm kind of just looking for him to get me 12 to 16 points, which I think he's very capable of doing even without a touchdown. DJ Moore against Minnesota. I'm willing to come off of that one. I think a lot of people will be on him because it's a what have you done for me lately league. He's probably going to come back down to earth, but still a decent value. Cooper Kupp against Arizona, who just got torched by Jamar Chase. Calvin Ridley. Kyle Pitts at $3,500, obviously pivotal. KJ Osborne against the terrible Chicago Bears defense without Justin Jefferson. Jordan Addison and KJ Osborne are going to be the main recipients of catches, as well as TJ Hawkinson. And then the Detroit Lions against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, probably going to get Baker Mayfield into a little bit of trouble, and I'm hoping for just a couple of sacks as well as turnovers in this one from Detroit Lions. But there are some options here if you want to go with the Patriots against the Las Vegas team that could be potentially without Davante Adams. That's going to do it for this video. I appreciate you watching. Now, every single week, don't forget, we do a giveaway. Go ahead and give a thumbs up to this video if you want to be entered. And then drop in the comments who is going to be the top scorer on the Week 6 main slate. I'm not looking for an exact number. Well, I am and I'm not. I don't need the decimal point. If you think that the number one scorer this week is going to be Cooper Kupp with 32 points, and he gets 32.8, put Cooper Kupp 32 points down in the comments. One person who correctly guesses it will get that $20 ticket taken care of, courtesy of All Access, for next week's Week 7 Draftkings Millionaire Maker. That's going to do it for this video. I greatly appreciate you watching. I appreciate your support. Give a thumbs up, drop the comment, and subscribe if you're new to the channel so you never miss a video.